All right, hello, welcome back to Unqualified Analysis. Your boy is tired, but he is still here. Things are going great. How about you? Huh? How you doing? Either way, I'm your host, Caleb. You can follow me on the Twitters, the X's, whatever the hell you call it. Don't really trust you if you call it X, but I'll allow it. On Twitter, at CalebVUA. If you're watching on YouTube, it's right there in the bottom right-hand corner. Not a link, because I'm lazy. Don't feel like putting the link there. But it's you type that into Twitter, and my name will pop up. You go ahead and you follow me, and we'll all be happier for it. So today we have got a recap of Week 1 in the NFL season. I'm not wearing any pants. I'm just sitting here. I'm loving everything about life right now. We got football, and that's all I need. I don't need pants when I have football on TV. So yeah, we had a couple things happen over the course of this week. Actually, a fair amount of contract movement on many of these, well, not many, but through a few of these teams. So yeah, let's just crack into it. A couple headlines first and foremost. So, I think I already talked about that. Did I? Yeah, I definitely already talked about that. I apologize. Tyreek Hill got detained after a traffic stop for reckless driving. The body footage came out. That was wild stuff. The dude was, a little bit aggressive. But to keep up the narrative of bad guy, great football player, Tyreek Hill went for 7 receptions, 130 yards, a touchdown. That touchdown happened on an 80-yard bomb. So, yeah, Tyreek Hill seems perfectly fine. This seems pretty par for the course for him. And on that touchdown, he actually did the handcuff celebration. Beautiful stuff. Couldn't have drawn it up better myself. And it continues the narrative. The Tyreek Hill documentary is going to be something else, man. It's going to be awesome. There's a lot of stuff that happened with that dude. And still a very good football player. Great football player, even. But we'll get to that game itself here in just a few minutes. Dak Prescott, my boy, the dude from Mississippi State, had one crossover year. Shout out to the boy. He gets paid buku bucks by the Cowboys. Wasn't sure Jerry Jones would fork over the cash, but boy, did he. 4 years, $240 million. Struck it right at the deadline there, right before the 1 o'clock game, before the Cowboys went out there and just destroyed the Browns. We're going to talk about that one in just a second, too. But $240 million over 4 years. That's $60 million a year, officially resets the quarterback market. He is the highest paid quarterback in the entire league, and he is well-deserving, I would say. But $231 million guaranteed. $80 million signing bonus, which is a new record, by the way, on that signing bonus. Shout out, kudos to him. $80 million probably in the bank account as we speak. Gotta feel good. Gotta feel really good, especially after coming off of a $160 million contract. By the end of this deal, $420 million in career earnings, and you're probably going to re-up one more time at the very least. So that's exciting. My goodness, you love to see that from a fellow Mississippi State alum. But yes, he gets paid. Now we're not going to have quite as fun of a free agency next year, but the Cowboys did what the Cowboys needed to do. Somehow they paid all of the players that they needed to pay, and unfortunately, I don't know how many players are going to be able to sign outside of that because, it's a lot of cap. That's a lot of cap between him and CeeDee Lamb. I think CeeDee Lamb got, 35-ish million? Like 30 million, something along those lines. In addition to the 60 million a year that Dak Prescott's getting. Cap situation is going to be tough, but hey, you signed the players you needed to re-sign, and we're open for business. You just got to hit some draft picks. That's the main thing. Okay, so there's your headlines. With that said, let's hop right into this. Let me pull up the NFL scoreboard, and here we are. So we're looking at Week 1 here, and we'll just go down the list. We started off the week with Ravens at the Chiefs. The Chiefs get a win 27-20. Gutsy win by the Chiefs. Chiefs look just as good as they always have. As far as this game is concerned, Patrick Mahomes' numbers weren't, stellar, but you watch the dude play, and he is still I mean, the best quarterback in the entire league. The receiving core is much better this year from what we've seen so far, and that was without Hollywood Brown. Once Hollywood Brown gets in there, it's going to be vintage Chiefs offense. But Xavier Worthy flashed off the screen in this one, had an end around for a touchdown to be the first touchdown of the NFL season, then caught a bomb on a busted coverage from the Ravens later on in the game. So 2 touchdowns in this game, and I would expect more of the same throughout the season. I said it coming in. I mean, Xavier Worthy, I thought by himself was already a fine prospect. I mean, it's different from the John Ross thing where you could tell he was a lot of a straight line runner. Xavier Worthy was a star from the moment he stepped foot onto the Texas campus. There was never a time, I think, in his entire college career where he wasn't the best receiver on Texas's squad, and that includes his true freshman season. So Xavier Worthy, he's been, obviously, you look at the track record of guys that have run as fast as he has, or in the same like 4.2 ballpark. Not a great hit rate on the wide receivers, but I always thought this guy was different, and I think he's showing it, and especially you combine that, and that's just by himself. You combine that with Patrick Mahomes, boy, oh boy, he's going to be a problem for the entire league this year, and like I said, when Hollywood gets back, it is off to the races. And on the other side, I mean, the defense looked spotty at times, but you're facing Lamar Jackson. He had a really good running game in this one, 122 yards on the ground. These things are to be expected sometimes. You get a little bit more running game on you when you're facing a quarterback like Lamar Jackson, but I mean, the defense still looks really strong. I mean, the secondary played well throughout the entire game. The front seven was playing well despite, Lamar Jackson's continued success over there. The Chiefs are the Chiefs. They're a Super Bowl contender once again. They're exactly who we thought they were. And now they get to go and play. Who do they play this week? We're going to talk about that here in just a minute. Don't you worry about that. But give me just a second. Let me. I realize now I have to pull up the week 3 lines for the NFL. Week 2 actually. Week 2 lines for the NFL, just so I can bookmark that for at the end of this episode whenever we get through all the games from this past week. We are in the football season, boys. We're in the football season, and it's beautiful. It's completely beautiful. Okay, so got that pulled up. Good, love that. Back to get out of here. Get out of here. I didn't mean to move my cursor over you. Okay. Let's get back to it. Moving on, we get the Packers and the Eagles in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And it was a banger. It was a banger for the people, man. I'll tell you what, this was close till the very end. Got a little tightened up in the fourth quarter there. Only 3-3 apiece in the fourth quarter. But ultimately, I mean, big-time game. I don't think we've answered all the questions about Jalen Hurts. But Eagles get a big-time win. About as on the road as you can get. 34-29 over the Green Bay Packers. And I'll tell you what, despite the numbers, I mean, the Eagles defense did look pretty solid at times. Pretty solid. And I mean, in addition to that, let me see what we got here. I mean, 7 tackles for loss in this one, solid. 2 sacks, which you can quibble with. I mean, the Packers have a good offensive line, so I'm looking at the wrong team. In fact, actually, Philadelphia's defense, Zach Bond got two sacks and 15 total tackles. Hell of a game from him. But, I mean, Nakobe Dean had 2 tackles for loss, and that was half your tackles for loss. They had 4 tackles for loss in this game. Reed Blankenship gets the interception, though. That's a big one for him, which ultimately probably ended up winning them the game in this one. But, I mean, just solid all-around play. I mean, the more I look at it, the less I'm sold on the defense, which makes sense when you give up 29 points. But, I mean, offensively, A.J. Brown played a hell of a game. Devontae Smith had 7 catches in this one. Saquon Barkley had 3 touchdowns in this game. He was, I mean, everything that we expected him to be coming over from the Giants over this offseason. The Eagles look legit. And, I mean, the only worry that you have is, which is a big worry, by the way, Jalen Hurts, 20 for 34, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I mean, 8.2 yards per attempt, so not terrible. They beat a really solid Packers team as well in a neutral site game out of the country. So, I mean, you love to see that. However, I mean, you're going to have to see better if you want to continue to win games this season. And this is kind of a continuation of the trend that we saw last year with, Jalen Hurts kind of tailing off towards the end of the year. I didn't see a whole lot different in game one to convince me otherwise. He's going to have to get better, and I think he will as the season goes along. I think as he kind of, sits in, gets comfortable with this Kellen Moore scheme, you're going to be seeing better play from Jalen Hurts, because I think running game-wise, they got something cooking with Saquon and the boys. I'll tell you that right now, and I'd love to see it. Well, in the NFC, I don't necessarily love to see it, but I'm not. The Vikings is the Vikings this year. What am I going to say on that? So, hey, interesting team to watch, and we'll keep watching them going forward. As far as the Packers go, Jordan Love got an MCL sprain at the end of this game. Malik Willis had to come in for like the last 1-2 snaps. I can't remember which one it was, but Jordan Love, he's going to miss some time, which means Malik Willis is going to start for them going forward. And honestly, obviously, I'd be very worried about that. Outside of that, though, Jordan Love ran this offense pretty well. You have to worry that, Malik Willis is the one quarterback in the team. What's going on, pup? What's going on? You coming in for an investigation, or are you just wanting some pets? Yeah, just wanting some pets. So I'm going to pet her and talk to y'all about the Green Bay Packers and how they should probably be a little bit worried with how things are going quarterback-wise. If Malik Willis showed us anything with the Titans, it's that I don't think he's going to be a starting NFL quarterback for sure. Maybe he's, rounded into a solid backup there. Obviously, good character guy. See you later, Doug. Obviously, good character guy, giving away his stuff to a homeless person at the combine. You love to see that. As a quarterback, though, he had some terrible games with the Tennessee Titans, and I trust that Matt LaFleur is going to put him in some better situations, but is he going to be more accurate? Is he going to be able to keep this team afloat? We shall see. I'll tell you what, though, the rest of the offense looking pretty damn good. They had 7.8 yards per clip on the ground in this game, and that was, part of that was Jaden Reed breaking off a 33-yard touchdown early on in this game. That's part of it. But also, Emmanuel Wilson went 4 carries for 46 yards. Josh Jacobs was the main ball carrier in this one. Obviously, you pay him all that money. That's what he's going to do. 16 carries, 84 yards. So if you're doing the quick math at home, that's 5.3 yards per carry. Obviously, the only touchdown was Jaden Reed, which that has to improve if they're going to be winning games, especially with Malik Willis out of the lineup right now. But a balanced running game, even with your main ball carrier getting 16 carries, you're getting 5.3 a pop, and maybe that's just due to weaknesses on the front for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think I like this running game, though. I think it's a good mix and match sort of thing with the passing game, which obviously when Jordan Love comes back, I'm not worried about that at all. This running game might be what keeps them afloat going forward, though. I think the defense, obviously got torched in this game. They had 7 tackles for loss, though. Only 2 sacks, but 7 tackles for loss. And the 2 sacks, you're facing a mobile guy, a powerful guy in Jalen Hurts. That's, bound to deflate the sack numbers a little bit. You also, you got 5 QB hits in addition to the sacks and all that sort of stuff. So you're getting after him. You're getting after him in this game. So I like, it's something to build off of. Obviously 34 points, less than ideal. But, you got something to build off of in week one. The good players played well. Seems like they got some more scheme juice this year with the new defensive coordinator in town. So it's a work in progress. We'll see how it goes as it goes along. But with that said, let's keep it moving from here. We'll be monitoring that Jordan Love injury situation going forward. I assure you of that. Oh, man, the Steelers got a Steelersy win in this one. So they get the win 18-10 over the Falcons. Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious that the Steelers do this. They do this all the time, too. They take advantage of teams that are less well coached than they are, and even with a worse team, they end up coming out and they win by a score. 18-10, that's a classic Steelers victory right there. But Russell Wilson, Mr. Unlimited, was not playing in this game. I think he had a calf injury, sat out for this one. He was the emergency quarterback, so he was still in pads, but he sat out for this one. So Justin Fields gets to start, And I mean, didn't really turn the ball over, so that's a plus. It's a good step in the right direction. But I mean, 156 yards through the air. Wasn't their leading rusher. I mean, let me take a look at the actual numbers here. But yeah, I mean, 6.8 yards per attempt. I mean, 17 for 23, so probably exactly what Arthur Smith wants him to do there. 14 rushes, 57 yards. So, I mean, kind of pedestrian on the ground, especially by Justin Fields standards. But when you don't break one, that kind of tends to be the stat line for a quarterback like that. I mean, obviously knows the game plan when it comes to passing. Just throw the ball to George Pickens and something good will probably happen. He had over half of Justin Fields' passing yards, 6 receptions, 85 yards in this game. Hilarious. He's really the best receiver by a mile. Also, fun fact, he was the only wide receiver with more than one catch. We had Van Jefferson, not Darnell Washington, he's a tight end, Calvin Austin. Excuse me, Van Jefferson and Calvin Austin both caught one pass, and that's it. That's it. Pat Fryermuth was the second leading receiver with 4 receptions and 27 yards respectively. So if you like offense, this game stunk. If you like good kicking, this game was for you, because Chris Boswell, the MVP of this game, goes for 6 for 6. 18 points, scored all 18 for the Steelers in this game. He was a force. You put him indoors and he's just not going to miss for the most part, which is true for most kickers, but especially a solid one like Boswell. He absolutely smashed this game. Really the reason that the Steelers won this one outside of the defense. The defense in tandem with him are the reasons that they won this game. Hilarious from the Falcons, though. Boy, am I glad that the Vikings didn't sign Kirk Cousins to a big-time deal. And really, even that $30 million deal is looking pretty generous right now, because Kirk Cousins in this game, 16 for 26, 155 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions, was not mobile even at all, which is not the expectation for Kirk Cousins, but you expect functional mobility at the very least. And I don't think we even saw functional mobility in this game. He was a statue back there. He couldn't go under center at all. He stayed in the shotgun, was a statue in the pocket. And, I mean, the Falcons might have a problem by, just the contract terms, because if Kirk Cousins doesn't improve from what he showed last week, they're going to be cutting bait real quick. Real quick. He'll probably stay on the roster next season at the very least. But after that, I mean, guaranteed money's up. You're getting him the hell off the roster at that point. If he's playing like this. And honestly, he's getting up there in the year. He's reeling in the years, stowing away the time, as they say. And he's not getting any younger. You just drafted Michael Penix, which is starting to look smarter and smarter. But again, it comes back around to, why did you sign this guy in the first place if you're going to replace him so quickly? And why did you sign him in the first place if he was washed up and you knew enough about him being washed up to draft Michael Penix in the first round? Top 10, by the way. People should not forget about that. And maybe it'll pay off, but interesting decision. Interesting decision there, to say the least. The Falcons, oh boy, the Falcons might be in for a long season. You just hope to see improvement from Kirk Cousins, because the defense, I mean, they held the Steelers out of the end zone, but they got within field goal range 6 times, you have to understand here. The defense looked about as we expected the defense to look. So, not awesome. Not really awesome at all. Mike Hughes had 3 tackles for loss. Shout out to the former Viking, I suppose. Grady Jarrett looked like Grady Jarrett. So there's your positives there. Matthew Judon got in for half a sack. Good for him. Otherwise, it was pretty much what we've seen from them for years now. They're good in a few spots with a few good players, but ultimately not a good defense overall. When they play a solid offense, I think they're going to break it open on them. This Falcons team is, I mean, they should thank God that they're in a easy division, relatively speaking, because I don't know how good this team is. They're certainly not as good as I thought they would be, which is in no small part due to the fact that Kirk Cousins is not as advertised coming back from that injury, which was always the risk. You knew the risk when he signed the guy. There is always a downside to that risk proposition. So, yeah, you make your bed, you got to sleep in it. What can I say? Not much more to say outside of that. Steelers-wise, they're the exact same team as last year. I feel as confident as I have ever been. This is a 9-8 football team that's going to sneak into the playoffs or be just on the outside looking in. They're going to lose in the first round. That is what this team is. Until they get a quarterback that's worth a damn in there, that's what it's going to be. Maybe Justin Fields shows me something as the season goes along, but if he can't put up big-time numbers against this Falcons secondary, I don't know what he's going to do against the NFC North. I'll just tell you that right now. So, there you go. Steelers win 18-10. Let's keep it moving from here. Oh, excuse me. Just burping up some stuff right now. I drank 4 cups of coffee today, man. And I'm still tired. That should tell you how much of a caffeine addict I am. But boy, I was amped there for a good hour or so at the end of the day. From 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock, I was a crazy person. Absolute crazy person today. Okay, so Cardinals did exactly what I thought they would do against the Bills. They played them close. They were ahead for a good portion of this game, up 14-3, I believe, at one point. But ultimately, Bills are the better team. They come back 34-28. The Bills win. Cardinals do cover those, so didn't bet on it, but pretty much exactly what I thought would happen did end up happening. Cardinals defense is still a work in progress. I think we all kind of figured that. Offense still kind of figuring things out. Marvin Harrison Jr. got wide open on one play, and Kyler Murray just didn't see him pretty much. So that's something you got to work on. We're still working out the kinks so far in this season, but you score 28 points. Had Josh Allen had the weirdest stat line maybe of all time going into halftime, I believe. I think going into halftime, he was 2 for 2 for 34 yards. And that's a real stat line. He really turned it on in the second half. Ended up with 232 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2, that's just in the air. He also had 2 on the ground as well. Josh Allen is Josh Allen playing against a bad defense. Not sure we learned much there. You got to worry about the Bills defense a little bit. Giving up 28 points to the Cardinals, and yes, I think the Cardinals offense is going to be good this year, but 28 points to anyone's got to alarm you a little bit, unless it is like the Chiefs, but then you can just chalk it up to the Chiefs is the Chiefs. I don't think Kyler Murray fits into that category necessarily, and hey, Kyler Murray wasn't really the one that gashed him in this game. Let's not get it twisted, but ultimately, giving up 28 points, it's a red flag. That's a red flag. I think they might have gotten some sort of return touchdown. Seems interesting, to say the least. No, they didn't even get a return touchdown. They just had, one. Well, I'm counting 1, 2. Okay, yeah, this was the game where DJ Dallas had the first return touchdown of the year. So that's where the 1 touchdown went. Okay, but I'm probably just dwelling on this too long, but count with me here. We got 1 rushing touchdown, we got 1 passing touchdown, we got 1 return touchdown. Where does the 28th point come into play? I don't understand. Maybe this might be one of those games where they had a weird safety situation. I don't know. Michael Wilson. Oh, well, yeah, there's just James Conner. DJ Dallas. Oh, okay. I'm stupid. They just went for 2. They only scored 3 touchdowns. I'm sorry I just wasted everyone's time doing that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I did that. But despite not a whole lot of production, Marvin Harrison Jr. looked good. So you take that as a plus for the Cardinals. Still a work in progress, though. I think they'll be feisty, better than they were last year, but still a work in progress this coming season. And the Bills, I don't think we found out anything about the Bills just yet. They did exactly what they were supposed to do and exactly what I expected them to do in week 1 this season. So we'll see what happens this upcoming week. Actually, today, as you might be listening to this on Thursday, against the Miami Dolphins. That should be a good test, good little litmus test for that defense. Looking forward to that. Good Thursday night matchup to kick things off on Amazon Prime. Not paid by Amazon Prime. Not sure why I plugged them like that. Oh boy, the Titans go on the road to the Bears, and for a second I thought they were going to make all my dreams come true. They were up 17-0 after halftime. Sorry, they were up 17-0 in the second quarter. They're up 17-3 at halftime, and then they score 0 points in the second half. Bears win the game 24-17, and I believe the Bears had 2 different defensive touchdowns. I'm pretty sure that's how it all shook out. So yeah, that's fun. That's good stuff. Good stuff. Blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you get it. Okay, so they had 1 defensive touchdown. I'm not doing touchdown math again, man. I'm not doing it. I'm not wasting everyone's time doing touchdown math again. So yeah, they had an interception, touchdown, and a blocked punt. So special teams and defense won the game for them. Caleb Williams, though, impressive stat line: 14 for 29, 93 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. That's pretty good. Not an ideal start for Caleb Williams in this offense. You got to be a little bit alarmed. Getting a few Vietnam flashbacks if you are the Bears faithful there. That maybe you got it wrong again. Maybe the organization is wrong. I'm not overreacting to this one right now. I think Caleb Williams is going to have some bumps in the road. Obviously, rookie year never goes quite as smoothly as you might hope. I think he's still really good. I think Rome Odunze is going to be our big ad for that offense. Keenan Allen, how did he do in this game? How did he do? Because we all know the Keenan Allen weight stories. I mean, 4 receptions, 29 yards, about as good as you can ask for when your quarterback is going 3.2 yards per attempt, is what it is there. Excuse me, that was disgusting. I mean, just a bad offensive game from the Bears. At the very least, your defense looks great, so that's something you can build off of. You forced Will Levis into, a hilarious moment right off the bat in this season. Did the live surrender cobra on the field as the play was going on. Awesome. Legendary. Love to see that from the Bears. But do I? Do I really love to see it from the Bears? I don't. But the objective football fan in me likes to see awesome, cool shit. So that was pretty cool. That was pretty funny. Pretty awesome in my book. So I'll allow it. Also, fun fact, Will Levis had a higher total QBR than Caleb Williams in this one. He had 2 interceptions. So not good. The 2 quarterbacks average yards per attempt in this game, by the way. 4.0 for Will Levis, 3.2 for Caleb Williams. Yikes. That's all I got to say about that. So we'll keep it moving from there. I just got to hit back a bunch of times because I'm a big, stupid idiot. Big old stupid idiot. Okay, so Patriots go on the road and give us our first, well, could you call it a shocker? I mean, is there really shockers in the NFL at this early in the season? The Patriots go on the road to the Bengals, though. I think they were 8.5-point dogs, maybe 7-point dogs against the Bengals. And the Patriots beat them 16-10. This is how the Patriots are going to win games this year. They're going to win them ugly, and they're going to win them behind defense and running game. About as old-fashioned of a strategy as you can go with. But when Ramondre Stevenson's going 120 in a touchdown, 4.8 yards per carry, Jacoby Brissett's running the ball well, too. I mean, they had 170 yards as a team rushing the ball. Jacoby Brissett doesn't turn the ball over in this game. And then defensively, you only give up 10 points. You hold Joe Burrow to, efficient, 21 for 29, but 164 yards. Also no touchdowns, no interceptions. Surprisingly clean game for as low scoring as it was. But then I'm looking at the Bengals. They lose 2 fumbles. So how clean was it? Patriots didn't turn the ball over at all. So that's a very encouraging sign. And Keon White, a guy that you're hoping that would come on last year, he had 2.5 sacks in this game. So that's big. I mean, especially with Matthew Judon leaving, someone's got to step up in a big way, and Keon White's in a good position to do so. So this Patriots team, I was telling y'all in the preseason, I don't think they're great, but the defense is still up there with the best in the game. I obviously made that evaluation before Matthew Judon got traded, but I still feel just as strong about it now, especially after week one. And maybe the Bengals' offense isn't as good as we expect them to be. That's a total possibility, and I'll grant you that. But ultimately, going on the road and the defense playing like they did for the Patriots, they're just going to win a few more games than people expect. I think they still probably finish last in that division unless the bottom really just falls out for the Jets, at which point everyone's fired. No two ways about that. Unless something like that happens, they're still probably last, but they're going to be way more competitive than I think some people gave them credit for. And don't count me as one of those people. I told y'all preseason, man, they're going to be feistier than you expect. They're not going to be great, but they're going to be feistier than you expect, and they're going to play 17 rock fights this year. I'll tell you that right now, because they're going to muck up a game, and they got the running game to capitalize. Well, we'll see. Bengals defense also not great, so can they do this against better teams? We'll see. But I think they're built to win rock fights, or at the very least built to play rock fights. So you're going to have a lot of close games for the Patriots this year. Might be a big under team. Iowa of the NFL? Who's to say? Who's to say? On the Bengals side, is Joe Burrow healthy? Is he totally back from that wrist injury? And thinking more about the wrist injury, how long of Joe Burrow not playing well into this season? Like, if we're at week 4 and Joe Burrow plays every week like he did this past week, are we starting to panic? Are they Bengals faithful, or are we starting to panic with Joe Burrow? Because he looked like he was shaking out the wrist the whole game. Looked like he was still knocking off the cobwebs. Maybe he has some residual pain there. And in addition to that, not just like the healing of the injury, you're talking about a ligament injury in the wrist. And if you don't know about anatomy, the wrist bone connects to the hand bone here, and the ligaments, I mean, that's where me moving my fingers right now, all of those ligaments that do that are based in the wrist right here, and he tore that. So are we sure that Joe Burrow's going to be able to grip the ball properly? Is he going to be the same guy? And this is just massive overreactions after week 1. I'm just asking questions. I'm just asking questions. So you don't ask me no stupid questions. I won't tell you no lies. But I'll tell you right now, I have a few questions about Joe Burrow, man. They're not stupid questions. I'll tell you that right now. They are pointed and well-founded questions. We're gonna leave them to the side until after we're through like a month of the season. If it still happened around like week 4, week 5, you have my permission to panic. All of you out there, you have my permission to panic if you're waiting for my permission to do so at that point. But we're gonna hold off until then. Joe Burrow doesn't usually play great in the early season. Sometimes he's a little bit nicked up, and he's usually playing well down the stretch. So let's take a step back. Let's chill. Let's not panic. Defensively, we're just not going to think about that. We're just going to, push that all the way to the back of the mind and then never bring it up again, huh? Okay. So we're going to do that. And right now, the Bengals, you lost a week 1 game. You know who else I believe lost week 1 or 2 to a bad team? The 49ers, I believe. I can't remember if it was last year or the year before. One of those years they went to the Super Bowl. I believe they lost to the Chicago Bears in week 1 in an absolute slop fest. So these things do happen. So let's chill out. Let's take a breather. Not overreact to week 1. We're on to week 2 in this one, okay? Okay? All right. I'm glad we could have this little moment together. All right. So we'll keep it moving from here. We'll keep it moving down. Yeah. Oh, this is a banger. I didn't get to watch hardly any of it because I was watching the Vikings game, but Texans go on the road to the Colts, and they continue to own that venue. 29-27, the Texans get the win. C.J. Stroud looks sharp in this one. The real star for the Texans was brand new minted running back Joe Mixon, another guy in the bad guy, solid football player corollary category there. He was, 30 carries, 159 yards, a touchdown. If they're getting that out of the Bobby Slowick offense, which we know Bobby Slowick likes to run the ball, especially on early downs. If Joe Mixon's playing like that, this offense is going to be unstoppable this year. Absolutely unstoppable. And I should have taken my own advice because Nico Collins got over 100 yards. Probably hit the over on his prop. Should have bet that. Totally forgot. I think I recommended that to you all, so hopefully some of you took the advice that I did not decide to take for befuddling reasons. Don't ask me why, it just kind of happened that way. But yeah, I mean, the Houston Texans offense overall, I mean, they looked sharp in this one. And I mean, it's not the defense you got to quibble with a little bit, but I mean, offensively, I don't believe they didn't turn the ball over at all. I mean, Nico Collins went for 117. Stephon Diggs caught both of the C.J. Stroud touchdowns. Tank Dell looked just as good as he did last year before the injury. Obviously, Joe Mixon, we already went over that. I mean, they had, outside of Joe Mixon, 213 yards, 5.3 yards per carry, and a touchdown in this game on the ground. 234 through the air. So, I mean, they gained yards at just short of a 450-yard clip there on the game. Pretty solid. I mean, just to say pretty solid right there. Defensively, it's going to take a little bit for the new pieces to gel together, obviously. Let me see. What's Danielle Hunter doing nowadays? One tackle. That's all. One batted pass, though, so that's cool. I hope for the best for him. I simply hope for the best. I do wish he was still a Viking, but I'm pretty happy with Jonathan Grenard, so we'll call it a draw on that one. This was a game where you're going to have to be better if you're the Houston Texans defensively, but man, for the most part, for most of the time, they defended the hell out of Anthony Richardson. I'll tell you what, he had a less than stellar efficiency game, only 9 for 19, but a couple throws that he had in this game. His two touchdowns were like 60 and 54 on that 9 of 19 passing. He had 3 total touchdowns overall. He had a rushing touchdown. He had 2 passing touchdowns. Just Looney Tunes numbers. Crazy upside for the guy. And yeah, I mean, for the most part, though, outside of those couple plays where, to be fair, Anthony Richardson just dropped him in a bucket, you did a fairly solid job. I mean, no one else outside of Anthony Richardson got you a touchdown if you're the Indianapolis Colts, so you'll live with that. Well, I guess Jonathan Taylor did, so I take that back. But outside of that, I mean, he only had 3 yards per carry, too. You can live with that if you're the Houston Texans. I think the Houston Texans look exactly how we expected them to. I think they're a great offense, and defensively played mostly a good game. Just sometimes when you got a crazy talent like that on the other side, he just makes shit happen. That no real great explanation outside of he just makes shit happen. And if you go watch those throws, he just made shit happen, man. It was incredible, absolutely incredible. But on the Colts side, just continuing that narrative, I mean, Anthony Richardson, 11.2 yards per attempt. I mean, only 9 of 19. That's a lot of what you saw in college. Inconsistent accuracy. But the one pass he had to Alec Pierce, he was on the run, rolls out of the pocket, has pressure in his face, off the back foot, falling backwards, throws a moonshot that if the roof was closed, maybe he would have hit the roof on that one, and just drops in the perfect spot where only Alec Pierce can catch it in the end zone. 65 yards in the air. Just disgusting stuff. Absolutely disgusting stuff from Anthony Richardson. Then had another 54-yard bomb for a touchdown to Ashton Doolin. Ho-hum, ho-hum. He was incredible in this game. And that's not even accounting for the rushing stats. I mean, he had 9.3 yards per carry, 56 yards, a touchdown. I mean, dude was all over the field pretty much. I mean, you hope that he stays healthy, but he's such a spectacular and unique talent. I mean, even compared to Josh Allen, I mean, he plays a similar style where it's gunslinger, it's, a lot of power football when it comes to running the ball. I think he's even faster than Josh Allen, and maybe that's just my internal biases showing, my internal racial biases that maybe I don't know about. And if that's true, hands up. I'm the problem. I take responsibility. I accept responsibility for that. But I mean, he's a crazy athlete, absolutely crazy athlete. If he can just dial in the passing, you don't have to complete 70% of your balls in order to be a really good to elite quarterback. If you just complete, look at the Cam Newton model. Just look at the Cam Newton model. Cam Newton was never a 67, 68% completion guy. Never once in his career. Maybe once, maybe the MVP season he had something like that. But if I remember correctly, that's not even what his MVP season was. It was a lot of what I'm about to talk about, man. He could go 61 to 63%, just get semi good as far as the efficiency goes. You don't have to be perfect, but any above 60% for sure. You throw some good deep bombs and you run the hell out of the ball. And that's all you got to do. I mean, passing wise, all you got to do in addition to what you're already doing, everything else wise, is just complete 61 to 65% of your balls and you are good to go. If you're completing 65 with the way you're playing elsewhere, that's an MVP candidate right there. I mean, just again, look at what Cam Newton did in his time at Carolina in that MVP season. That's what he was doing. It wasn't crazy efficiency numbers passing the ball. He was just hitting guys deep and getting a bunch of rushing touchdowns. And that's kind of what I see Anthony Richardson hopefully molding into with a few more years of development from Shane Steichen under his belt. Shane Steichen did it once with Jalen Hurts. I have no reason to think he can't do it again with Anthony Richardson, barring health. Yeah, I'm knocking on wood there, obviously. Defensively, they lost Juju Brents for the season. He's a promising young cornerback for them, and I don't know who the hell else they're going to have out there outside of Kenny Moore, so that's worrying to say the least. I don't know what they're going to do on the outside. The Colts, though, I mean, I feel like they'll go as far as Anthony Richardson takes them this year. So, I mean, 9-8, 10-7, certainly in the mix for a playoff spot, and going toe-to-toe with the Houston Texans and only losing by 2. Boy, this Colts team looks solid right now, man, at least on offense. How did Leatu Latu do, I wonder? I didn't hear anything about him so far in this season. Did he even play? Did he get any time whatsoever? I don't see any Leatu Latu here, so I suppose he didn't play. That's inexplicable to me. They still got 4 sacks, so good on them. DeForest Buckner looked good. They're obviously able to get pressure, 4 sacks, 10 QB hits, but it's a little surprising to me that Leatu Latu didn't play. Maybe it's an injury thing. I don't know. I'll withhold judgment. But you're going to need Leatu Latu to come on strong as this season goes along if you want to go anywhere this season, especially with Juju Brents getting out of the game and out for the season, I believe, with a knee injury. So we'll leave that there for now. We'll table that discussion. Let's keep it moving down the schedule here. What do we got next? Jaguars go on the road to the Dolphins. Had them on the ropes for a while. It was 17-7 at halftime, but Dolphins turn it on in the second half. Ultimately, I believe it was Jason Sanders that got the game-winning field goal in that one. Tua looked shaky. 338 yards and 1 touchdown, but that 1 touchdown says a lot. He was okay. He played within the system and, played well enough in this system. Tyreek Hill, obviously, 130 yards after being detained, not arrested, detained. Interesting. You love to see it. You love to see it, quite frankly. Just really, really fits the mold. Overall, though, the Dolphins' defense, worried, I would say. I mean, they gave up. The leading rusher for Jacksonville was Tank Bigsby with 73 yards on 12 attempts. If you do the quick math, that's 6.1 yards per carry there. 128 yards on the ground, 4.9 yards per carry is what you give up in this game. And on the other side, I mean, obviously you have some holes on the offensive line there, but you just expect better than 81 yards, 3.2 yards per carry, 1 touchdown on the ground. Devon Achane, who averaged like 8 yards a carry last season, he only had 24 yards on 10 attempts. I don't even need to do the math for you to know that that's bad. He had the 1 touchdown, but it was a shaky game for the running game, and I think that Jaguars front seven is solid enough. Probably held them down to a large extent, but oh man, you got to be worried. You got to be worried a little bit if you're the Miami Dolphins, and maybe the Jaguars are a little bit better than I'm giving them credit for. So hey, there is that possibility. I do leave that out there, and if that is the case, hey, it's all for naught. No big worries here. It's only week one. It's only week one, but I don't know, man. Getting less than 100 yards is worrying to me at the very least. I think you still got an even 400 for the game, but I don't know. I'd just be a little bit worried about that. I mean, the Stars played well. I mean, Devon Achane, he didn't have a whole lot of rushing numbers, but receiving-wise, 7 receptions for 76 yards. He broke off one for 39 in this game, so 100 total yards. So, I mean, offense outside of the running game, looking good. You just got to figure out that running game. Otherwise, it's going to be same old story as last season. You're going to get all the way to the playoffs, and then you're going to go on the road. You're going to face someone with a cold weather advantage, and you're going to get slapped. That's just it's just the nature of the beast until you figure out the offensive line, unfortunately. I mean, defensively, they didn't get a whole lot of pressure. I mean, they got 3 sacks, so credit where it's due. Only 4 QB hits outside of that, though, so they really just made the most of the pressures that they got. Not fantastic pressure numbers overall, and sure, you held the Jaguars to 17. Perfect. That's awesome. But I don't know, man. Just I don't know how I feel about this Dolphins team overall. I mean, the defense. I mean, Emmanuel Ogbah, who you signed off of the street not too long ago, had 1 sack in this game. Calais Campbell, another guy that you signed off the street, had a sack and an additional tackle for loss in this game. I mean, Jalen Phillips is back. That's good. That's good. You love to see that. But I don't know, man. You're asking for contributions from guys like, and I quote, Storm Duck. Legal given name. That's a hilarious name. Storm Duck. Jordan Poyer, the shell of Jordan Poyer is there. Outside of that, I mean, I don't know about this team, man. I simply don't know about this team. I know the Jaguars are just simply okay. They're, Trevor Lawrence is still there. He got paid big whoop. The secondary is still a problem for him. The front seven will get some pressure. Maybe you'll get a few more contributions out of the running game this year, but they're still right there at that Mendoza line. 9-8, 10-7. They're not going to be that much better than that, I don't think, unless they really break through this year. And I mean, I just don't. You're going to need big contributions from Brian Thomas, and that wasn't what happened in week 1, to the best of my knowledge. I mean, 1 touchdown, 4 receptions, 47 yards, so could be worse. Could be worse, and Gabe Davis had a couple big receptions there. So, hey, maybe they do break through this year. I don't know. Maybe the Dolphins' defense is better than I'm giving them credit for. It's week 1, though, so we're not going to overreact to anything. Although I did overreact to Joe Burrow a little bit, so tis the season. Tis the season for overreaction, folks, but we'll keep it moving from there. We'll just do this one real quick. The Panthers go on the road to the Saints, and they just get punished. The second they stepped off the plane, they lost. I believe Bryce Young had an interception on his first attempt of the season, and it didn't go much better from there. I mean, the Saints won 47-10. The Panthers are still the worst team in the league for my money, and that's even in a league that has the Denver Broncos in it. So things are bad in Carolina. Poor Bryce Young, but also not the player that we expected him to be coming out of college, or even close to that player. The size really is a main factor there, and the receiving core, but the size for sure, and the offensive line quality. The Panthers are terrible. The Panthers are really, really bad. And the Saints, I don't know how good the Saints are, because that's just how bad the Panthers were. I mean, they scored 47 points, but the defense for the Panthers is a nightmare, and not a good kind of nightmare like they're really good. A nightmare is a nightmare for the defensive coordinator of the team, Ejiro Evero, which I'm still not sure why he stayed there. Must be a great sales pitch that he got over the course of the offseason to stay in that role. Is he still a head coaching candidate after these last 2 seasons? I think he'd be hard-pressed to find that team that's going to hire him. And he's also getting to that point where it's a couple off seasons on the list, and no one's hired him yet. So I don't know, man. If I were Giro Rivera, I'd probably get out of there as soon as possible. Saints wise, again, I don't know. I don't know what you can take from this game, man. The Panthers are just that bad, where you just kind of you throw up your hands and say, we'll evaluate them next week, pretty much. Because I think they're playing some good team this next week. I think it's either the Bills. No, the Bills are playing on Thursday night. Maybe it's the Chiefs. Someone along those lines. They're playing someone solid that we should learn a little bit more about them this upcoming week, though. So we'll table it until then. Vikings go on the road to the Giants. Did you know this game was a minus 1.5 point spread, minus 1 point at times in favor of the Minnesota Vikings? Interesting, because the final score was 28-6. And look, I'm not one of those idiots that thinks that sports books just factor in disrespect, like they're intentionally setting lines to disrespect fan bases because they're biased against fan bases. The sports books would go out of business if they did that strategy. It's all based on proprietary models. It's based on hard data. It's based on whatever line is going to put them right around 50-50, because 50-50 on each side means the book is winning. That's what the juice is for. The juice accounts for the profits when things are at 50-50 in both directions. So that's what they're gunning for. So I'm not out here saying that the line was disrespectful or anything like that. What I am saying, though, is that if your model thought that this game was a 1 point spread in favor of the Vikings, you're going to need to fine-tune that model a little bit, because me, as a fan of the Vikings, I would even put my biases aside. Me, as a fan of the Vikings, I looked at this game, and outside of the defensive line for the Giants, we'll give them the nod there, there was not a single area of the team, and I'm going right up to quarterback, not a single area of the team where the Giants were better than the Vikings. I'm talking offensive line, I'm talking wide receivers, I'm talking quarterback. We'll give them the defensive line. I'm fine with that. Linebackers aren't better. Outside, hey, Bobby Okereke, really solid linebacker. Outside of him, got a better linebacking core, got a better secondary, got better special teams even. Probably even a better kicker than what the Giants have, though Graham Gano is pretty good, so don't want to put too much on Will Reichard. Looked good in that first game, though. But not a single area of the team were the Vikings worse outside of the defensive line than the Giants, and you put it at a 1 point line. I'm just saying you got to adjust that model a little bit. You're going to have to factor in just how bad the Giants are, because as bad as the Panthers are, the Giants are right there with them. They are pretty much in a fairly similar situation, except the Giants might actually be a little bit better because the defensive line is actually elite. It's the only part of their team that is actually remotely good, and it is elite. So kind of a weird setup there. Probably going to win them some fluky games here and there. But you go down the roster. On offense, it's bad. The offensive line is bad. The receivers, outside of Malik Neighbors, bad. Defensively, defensive line, elite. Linebackers, Bobby Okereke is good, but who else do you have there? Secondary, terrible. Then you look at the Panthers. Offensive line, not great. Receivers, awful. Quarterback, awful. Defensive line, they lose Derek Brown for the season, so by default, awful. Linebackers, awful. Secondary, you guessed it, awful. Pretty similar situations there. I got to see if there is a Giants-Panthers crossover this season. That might be the sicko bowl of the year right there, because I think we're looking at the top two picks this upcoming season. I think the Panthers have a draft pick this upcoming year. I might be wrong. They still might be working their way out of that hell right now. And in fact, I believe they are, because they gave up whenever they traded up for Bryce Young 2 drafts ago. They swapped picks, then gave up the draft pick last year, and then the first round pick this coming year. So yeah, they don't even have a draft pick this year, and they're a bottom 2 team in the league. Just bad for the Panthers. But we're talking about the Giants. Giants aren't much better, man. And they have an out in Daniel Jones' contract after this year. They're going to take it. They're absolutely going to take it. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. You paid the wrong guy. You backed the wrong horse. You should have forked over the cash to Saquon Barkley, and you should have just franchise tagged Daniel Jones. If you had him on the franchise tag, I mean, you wouldn't be having this problem this year. You would have been in the. You would have gotten probably J.J. McCarthy in the draft this last draft, because you wouldn't have to worry about Daniel Jones. But since you handcuff yourself to Daniel Jones, you have one more year of suck under the belt, and it's going to be another year of suck. And I would applaud John Mara's patience if he stuck with Brian Daboll after this season. You probably stick with Joe Shane, but if you got another season where you're going 4-13, 5-12 after doing like the same thing last year, how much does that one playoff win, how much leash does that get you? That's the real question here. Again, I would applaud John Mara's patience if the Giants have another bad season and Brian Daboll is still there. Absolutely applaud it. We'll see how it works out, though. It's going to be a long season, and I think it's going to be extra long for the Giants. The Vikings side, Sam Darnold looked good, man. He looked good. I mean, the defense looked good as well. Granted, you're going up against the Giants, so not great competition. But, you know, Andrew Van Ginkel got himself a touchdown. Outside of one drive where they drove down and got a field goal, the other field goal the Giants got was a fumble deep in Vikings territory. Otherwise, Giants didn't get anything going all day. The defense looks great. The offense looks pretty much like we hoped it would. You know, you just keep it on the rails if you're Sam Darnold, and the offensive weapons will do the rest. Aaron Jones looked fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, I am having a hard time not letting the optimistic fan take over, because I like this Vikings team, man. I like it. I like the makeup of the team. I mean, we'll take the quarterback out of the equation here, but I like the offensive line. I like the receivers. I think the defense is better than it was last year. You lose Danielle Hunter, but then you look on the other side, you improve the depth literally everywhere else on the defensive side of the ball. You bring in Dallas Turner, who played well in this game as well. And man, we're building some momentum here, man. Even without an elite quarterback, we might have a solid enough team to where we can make a run at this thing. We can, maybe we're not going to win a Super Bowl. We're going to get shellacked by someone in the playoffs, but playoffs is not out of the question, folks. We started the season 1-0, and yes, I'm overreacting because we're going against the Giants, and the Giants are going to make a lot of teams look great this season that otherwise probably aren't that great. But boys, I'm riding the hype train right now. I'm riding the hype train, and that hype train is probably heading straight for a 50-foot thick brick wall. But I'm riding right till the end of the station here, man. I'm just going to ride it at 100 miles an hour into that wall, and I'm just going to be blissfully ignorant until then. We're practicing irrational confidence this year. Irrational confidence in all areas of life, particularly with the Minnesota Vikings. 28-6 over the Giants. We're back. We're winning the Super Bowl. Let's go, baby. Okay, so we're moving on to the 4 o'clock games here. Raiders go on the road to the Chargers, and the Chargers took care of business. Wasn't particularly close. This is exactly what the Chargers want to do. The final score was, who cares? Not about that, not phone stuff. Chargers win 22-10. The defense played well under Jesse Minter, the new defensive coordinator. Obvious personnel deficiencies, but J.K. Dobbins went 10 for 135 and a touchdown. It broke off a long one for a touchdown. Actually, not for a touchdown. He broke off a long one, ultimately scored a touchdown to cap off the drive. Jim Harbaugh awarding his guys. Love to see that. But this is exactly how the Chargers want to win games, man, under Jim Harbaugh. Run the hell out of the ball. Don't make a whole lot of mistakes in the passing game, and just play really solid defense. Now, to be fair, it's a lot easier to play really solid defense when you're playing against the Raiders and their terrible QB situation and lackluster offensive line. But this is the blueprint, and they're not going to be facing better competition this upcoming week. They're facing the Panthers, which we'll get to them here in just a second. Boys, we got bets. We got bets coming up, responsibly, of course. 22-10, though. This is the blueprint for the Chargers, and I think they're going to win more games than maybe some people expected just based on the roster composition. But they're still not going to be great. Don't get me wrong. They're going to be feisty all year, though, and you love to see it. And I think the Raiders might be bad. They might just not be good. Poor Jacoby Myers. I mean, 20 yards per reception in this game. just is doomed to play on bad teams for the rest of his career. I feel bad for that man. But yeah, Chargers 1-0, and then they're facing the Panthers next week. Could they be 2-0? We're about to find out. Broncos go on the road to the Seahawks. Made it close there at the end, but ultimately the Seahawks get the win. 26-20, Mike Macdonald's first win as the head coach of the Seahawks. Broncos had 2 safeties in this game, I believe. Weird game. You can tell with the 26-20 final score there. Just a strange game in this one. Kenneth Walker played very well, though. He is dinged up. What else is new? So you got to watch out for that. But he played well in this game. I'm sure Charbonnet will be more than happy to step in if need be. Geno Smith, he played a game. Man. Had a rushing touchdown. Had a long rush of 34 yards, and I believe that was a touchdown run. So cool on that front. Passing-wise, though, 171 yards, 6.8 yards per attempt, a touchdown, an interception. Mixed bag overall. Not fantastic. Tyler Lockett had a solid game. The ageless one goes 6 receptions, 77 yards. Zach Charbonnet actually caught the only touchdown for the Seahawks there through the air. So interesting stuff there. Outside of that, the Seahawks, I don't think we learned a whole lot about the Seahawks. I think the defense played mostly solid. Julian Love had a solid game in his first game with the Seahawks. They only had 2 sacks, though. Derek Hall and Boye Mafe did the honors on that one, or Boye Mafe. Had 8 QB hits, so not terrible, I suppose. And hey, you're hoping that Boye Mafe continues to progress in this direction, because you need him to be that type of dude if you want to generate any sort of pass rush. Solid enough start for the inaugural game of Mike Macdonald's defensive career there with the Seattle Seahawks, though. So hey, a win is a win. Not overreacting to week 1. On the Broncos side of things, again, not overreacting. Hey, Jonathan Cooper had 2 sacks. That's pretty cool, huh? That's pretty cool. Had 4 QB hits. That's fun. Bo Nix also went 26 of 42 for 138 yards. 3.3 yards per attempt, 2 interceptions. Hey, 35 yards on the ground, 7.1 yards per carry, 1 touchdown there. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Is it possible that maybe, just maybe, the guy that was in love with Taysom Hill as a QB with the Saints may not have the best picker for quarterbacks? Seems quite possible to me. Seems quite probable even after this game 1. Maybe it's the Mike Macdonald defense that Bo Nix is going up against. Maybe it's the rookie jitters. Maybe it's a combination of those factors. But Bo Nix was terrible in this game. He was bad in this game. If you're throwing under 7 yards per attempt, you didn't have a great game. If you're throwing under 4, you're at uncharted territories of bad. You're at Bryce Young levels of bad right now. They're going to need something from this passing game. They're going to need Bo Nix to push the ball down the field and not throw interceptions when he does so if they want to win any games this year. And frankly, I don't think they're going to win a whole lot of games this year. The offensive line, not fantastic. Receiving core, not fantastic either. Defense bereft of talent outside of Patrick Surtain. Maybe Jonathan Cooper will turn into something. Who knows? But if you win games this year, it's going to be on the brilliance coaching-wise from Sean Payton. That's probably your best bet of winning games this year. The Broncos are not very good. They're not very good. They kept it close there at the end, which I think a lot is due in no small part to Sean Payton and his brilliance. But yeah, I don't see the Broncos going anywhere. I think they're just exactly who we thought they were going into the season. We move on from there, though, and I pause this video at the top right of the screen so I can keep it moving. We'll hit this one pretty quickly. Well, first off, we got the Cowboys beating the hell out of the Browns, 33-17. You know, we'll get to that in a second. We'll table it for now. 33-17, the Cowboys get the win, though. I mean, Dak Prescott wasn't fantastic, but he did just enough to beat the hell out of the Browns. And one of those touchdowns was in garbage time, too. It was 30-7 going into the fourth quarter. This thing was over. It was 20-3 at halftime. This thing was over early, and it never stopped being over from there. The Cowboys were just... I mean, I'm not even sure how much better they were on offense, as much as the quarterback on the other side just kept giving them gifts all game. But the Cowboys took care of business in this one. They annihilated the Browns. Absolutely annihilated the Browns. And if you look for places to blame for the Browns, I mean, obviously the defense gives up 33 points, but I don't think you can really put a whole lot on them in this one. Offensive line, still very good. Still one of the best units in the entire league. Receiving-wise, solid receiving core. You even bring in Jerry Jeudy this offseason, who should, help your 1 through 3 receiving wise, and you still have David Njoku, though I believe David Njoku did get injured this past week, so that'll be a situation to watch. All signs point to a quarterback who in year 3 with Cleveland, we can no longer blame these underperformances on rust. We couldn't blame it on rust last year, really. We still can't blame it on rust again this year. It's Deshaun Watson is just a bad quarterback now. And you can ask what happened. Obviously, it was nothing physical. I just think some things came out about his personal life. He didn't have the golden boy image anymore, and I think that has greatly and dramatically affected him both on and off the field. I mean, I don't feel bad for the guy even a little bit. If there's one guy that I hope doesn't succeed in the entire league, it's Deshaun Watson, and I'm going to be happy that he doesn't succeed, and hopefully this is his last stop in the NFL, quite frankly. But just calling it like I see it, man, it doesn't take a rocket science to pinpoint the exact spot where Deshaun Watson's career went downhill. The allegations came out, he goes to the Browns, and he's never the same after that. And that can be said about a lot of quarterbacks that go to the Browns, but this is the new Browns. This is not the old Browns where you just expect quarterbacks to go there to die. You have a really solid head coach now. You have a really solid infrastructure. You have a great offensive line, good receivers around you. You're put in a situation to succeed with the Browns on offense now, which is not the way that it's been for my entire life until Kevin Stefanski got there and Andrew Berry became the GM. This is not the old Browns where you can just write it off and say, oh, it's the Browns. He can go somewhere else and probably play better. No, this is just who Deshaun Watson is now. And the Browns probably signed maybe the worst contract of all time, giving Deshaun Watson that money. And then in addition to that, they pushed the cap hit down the road again just by, I assume they thought that they were getting Brandon Ayuk late in the offseason there, late in training camp. I assume that's what they thought. They cleared up like $61 million of cap space for this year to assumably bring in a big player, and then didn't do that. And now they have a quarterback that is bad, where the cap hit is later in the contract, which makes it even more cap prohibitive to get out of. Unless you just commit to this guy for the next 10 years and just commit to sucking, you're in quite a situation here with Deshaun Watson. And that's before I even mention he had another sexual assault allegation come out from 2020. A Jane Doe filed a lawsuit against him. And the story of what happened is shockingly similar to a lot of the other stuff we heard. Wasn't a massage therapist this time. At least he had the decency to ask the woman out on a date first. But then he goes from there. Nothing decent about the man, obviously. He's the nasty man for a reason. Go read the details yourself. It's just straight up sexual assault. No two ways about it. It's all alleged, again, and I'm sure he's got a hell of a defense attorney in Rusty Hardin, which I'm still not sure exactly how that dude sleeps at night. But probably going to get it settled. I think they're only asking for $1 million in punitive damages, and hey, the Browns made it so he can pay that with ease. So I assume this is going to get settled out of court. That's generally how these things go. We'll see if the NFL takes action, because if Deshaun Watson gets punished again for this, the Browns have an out in this contract. I think it's probably very akin to firing him for cause. I don't know. There's probably a clause in the contract that says If something like this comes out again, we can get out of the contract. Maybe Deshaun Watson, knowing that maybe there's a few more allegations out there, might not have signed a contract with that stipulation, quite frankly. But maybe he just signed it to facilitate the trade to the Browns to get back on the football field. I don't know. I simply don't know on that front. The Browns got a problem, though, man. They have a problem because this roster right now, it's ready to win this year. The defense is one of the best in the entire NFL. The offensive personnel outside of the quarterback is very, very good. It's good enough to where you should be scoring points. Maybe not with the best of them, but scoring points at a clip that wins you a lot of games when you have an elite defense like they do. If Deshaun Watson keeps playing like this, they're going to bench him. I'm just telling you right now, you can't put up with another year of worse than mediocrity, just terrible football, and continue on like this. Jameis Winston, he's not the best quarterback in the league, but he's going to give you a chance. He's going to throw some balls up there that are going to get completed for big plays. He's going to give you a lot of what Joe Flacco gave you last year. Jameis Winston's going to start at some point this year. I think it's only a matter of time. And I think if the Browns want to win and they're serious about winning this year, they're going to make that move sooner rather than later because I don't see things getting better for Deshaun Watson. I don't know if he's had a single good game since he came over to the Browns, and I don't expect him to buck that trend in the coming weeks. The Browns got a problem. Browns got a problem right now. And by the way, the Cowboys are still exactly who we think they are. Let's not get this twisted. Really solid pass rush. What else they got? What else they got on defense? Offensively, really great wide receiver, really great quarterback. What else they got? What else they got? They ain't even really got the offensive line anymore, man. What do they really have? Regular season team, baby. Regular season team. Okay, so we have got a couple more here. I'm just going to breeze through this one real quick. Commanders go on the road to the Buccaneers, and they make Baker Mayfield look like the second coming of Joe Montana. He goes 289 for 4 touchdowns. Chris Godwin gets 83 yards and a touchdown. Jaden Daniels, looked solid enough, had great rushing numbers, 88 yards and 2 touchdowns, but ultimately the Commanders go on the road and they lose big, 37-20. The Buccaneers get the win in that one. You just hope to see more like that from Jaden Daniels. That's pretty much what you're hoping for this year if you're a Commies fan. Great game on Sunday night, by the way. Rams at the Lions. Didn't hit the over, much to my chagrin. But, this was back and forth. I believe the Rams were up 20-17 in the fourth quarter. The Lions come back. Well, first and foremost, the Lions were out in the lead. They led 10-3 at halftime. They go even in the third quarter. Rams start pulling away in the fourth quarter. Then the Lions bring it back and tie it. Then you go into overtime. David Montgomery just takes over, man. He goes right down the field, gets the touchdown for him. They walk it off 26-20. Electric football game. Awesome, awesome night games to start off this season outside of Monday night, which we'll talk about here in just a second. But the Rams, man, did a lot better against that Lions offense than I thought they would. Holding them to 20 points in regulation, very impressive. Very, very impressive. That new defensive coordinator they got over there, Shula, grandson of Don, did a solid job there in his first game against a really, really good offense that I think is still going to be a top 10 to top 5 unit in the league this year in the Detroit Lions. Did pretty solid against that offensive line, though obviously the offensive line started leaning on him late in the game. Outside of a couple big plays from Jamison Williams, pretty good in the passing game. I think the Rams are still a big overplay this year. I think we play a lot of overs for the Rams, but hey, credit where it's due. The defense played well in this game. The Lions just won. The better team won in this game. The Lions are still exactly who we think they are. The Rams, maybe you just never count out Sean McVay, man. I think he'll just, as long as he has a good quarterback, find a way to get some wins out there. Last game on the schedule here. Yep. Throat's a little parched. So I'm gonna take a quick sip of Gatorade. I lied, that was like 3 or 4 gulps, maybe even 5, wasn't counting. Then we're going to talk about the Jets 49ers. Okay, so Jets go on the road. Christian McCaffrey is a late scratch. They kept that under wraps pretty good. You're thinking maybe this is a good opportunity for the Jets to go on the road and make some noise, make some things happen. Nope, 49ers dominate this game. They win 32-19. Aaron Rodgers looked solid enough. The arm still looks live. He looks like he's got a live arm still. The offensive line was okay in the passing game, bad in the running game, and part of that, I'm sure, is just facing the 49ers defense, but offense didn't really live up to expectation. And defensively, they just got bullied. Bullied the entire game. That vaunted Jets defense with all the stars at all those levels, I mean, gave up 147 yards on the ground to Jordan Mason alone. They got torched in this game. And Brock Purdy didn't even have a crazy good game in his own right. I mean, it was just the running game, going 180 yards, 4.7 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns in this game. And Brock Purdy, all he had to do was just keep the chains moving, man. He didn't have to do anything special. Just keep us moving down the field, and we're going to win the game. Ultimately, the 49ers are still the 49ers. They're exactly who I thought they would be as well. Even only getting 1 sack against this Jets offense, still held them down the entire game and just kept on bullying them. Demetrius Flanagan Fowles got an interception in this game. Breece Hall gave up a fumble in this game, and ultimately the turnovers were the big difference in this one. But again, I mean, Allen Lazard had 2 touchdowns with his reuniting with Aaron Rodgers. Also scored a late garbage time one with Tyrod Taylor. He looks a lot better this year. Garrett Wilson is still Garrett Wilson. No need to worry about that one. Breece Hall, I mean, not a great day running on the ground, but overall, I mean, 21 touches. I'm doing the quick math here, right? 93 yards total in the game. Not a bad showing overall. They just faced off against the juggernaut, man. And I just don't know how good this Jets team is. Robert Saleh, I don't know if he's a very good coach at all. I don't love what I've seen from him. I mean, Aaron Rodgers still looks good. I mean, 8.0 yards per attempt, a touchdown, interception. Overall, just kind of average. But at least you have a good backup quarterback just in case this year. I don't know. Maybe we'll see what happens when they get in the division. I think there's still a team that's gelling. I think they're a team that, especially slotting in the new starting quarterback there with Aaron Rodgers, it's going to take a little bit for the offense to gel. When it does, though, I still feel very good about the defense. A lot of defenses looked real bad against the San Francisco 49ers offense in week 1. Nothing to hang your head about there. It's just a good old-fashioned beatdown here in week 1. The 49ers are exactly who we thought they were. The Jets are evolving as a team. They're coming along. They're progressing. Some teams have more room to progress than others. Some teams have different starting points. I think, the Jets will get better as the season goes along, in my opinion. The main thing is Aaron Rodgers still looks really good. I mean, maybe not like elite level good, like MVP level good, but the arm is still very good at this stage of his career, and he threw a couple real dots in this game as well. So, hey, this is a starting point. We'll work up from here, and we'll see what they are in week 13, 14, 15. I think you're going to be seeing a different team than what you saw in week 1. That looks a lot more like a contender than maybe this past week would have indicated. So, with that, that's it for week 1 in the NFL. Let's take a look ahead at week 2. So, we're going down the list here. I got on Thursday night, Bills-Dolphins, big-time matchup. It's 2.5s across the board in favor of the Dolphins. Really just home field advantage is the difference there. That's going to be a fun game. Over-under, you can get anywhere from a 49 to a 48.5. Pretty tight spread here, and it looks like the only 48, well, it's a pretty good mix. So, yeah, just do some shopping around. Do some shopping around. It's 48.5 or 49 in most places, though. So, there you have it there. Personally, man, that's a tough one to pick. I'm not going to bet on it, but if you're going to back me into a corner, I think the Dolphins play very well against this Bills defense. I think they score a lot of points, and I think they win this game, and I think they cover. So there's my pick there. Chargers at the Panthers. This is actually one of my bets in favor of the Chargers. I got it at -6.5. So for the sake of integrity, I'm taking it at 6.5. You can get numbers at 5.5 right now, though. FanDuel has it at 5.5. Caesars has it at 5.5. Everywhere else is down to 6. I don't know what happened while I was at work today between the time that I bet this game and the time that the line moved. It moved an entire point from the time that I bet it, though. So For the sake of integrity, I'm taking the 6.5, but it's also 5.5 out there, so you get a better line than me. Congratulations. This is plain and simple, though. This is a bet where the Chargers aren't bad. They have a really good coach, and I think they're building a really good culture over there. The Panthers are just a disaster, an absolute disaster. You lose by 37 to the Saints in week 1. You give up 47 points. I think the Chargers win. I think they win very comfortably in this game. I don't even care about the road trip across country. You're going to be finding a theme that there's going to be a lot of road trips across country that I'm betting on this week. But I don't know. The Panthers are just so bad, and the Chargers are good enough to cover that 6.5, cover that 5.5 in my opinion. So that is why I took the bet. Chargers minus 6.5. Have fun getting a better bet than I did. That's a golden play for you. It's a golden play for you. No guarantee of win ever, but golden play for you. Saints at the Cowboys. It's 6.5 across the board in favor of the Cowboys. We're going to be finding out a little bit more about the Saints in this game. To me, I'm taking the Cowboys in this game. I think the age of the Saints defense does not bode well for them. The Cowboys offensive line isn't great, but I don't think the Saints have any really great pass rushers either. I think Dak Prescott's going to have time to sit back there and dice up this secondary, and ultimately, I think he does that. I think the Cowboys cover minus 6.5 in this one. Sorry to the Saints fans, the Saints faithful out there. I just think the Cowboys got the edge in this one. Raiders are at the Ravens. That's 8.5, mostly across the board. You can get some 9s there if you're looking to bet on the Raiders. And ultimately, I think the Raiders are going to muck this one up. I think that the defensive line is going to bully the offensive line a little bit for the Ravens, and I think they keep it close. I think they cover that 8.5. Ravens are going to win this game, though. I have no question about that whatsoever. I think Lamar Jackson at some point is going to take over this game. Defensive line be damned for the Raiders. I think he's going to end up, breaking a long run somewhere. He's coming in with a sense of purpose in the running game this year. I think he took that loss to heart in the playoffs in the was it the divisional round? No, it was the AFC Championship game, where if he would have just ran the ball more, maybe the game goes differently. I think he took that to heart and is not passing up opportunities to run this time around. So yeah, I think the Ravens get the win. I think the Raiders cover though. Not betting that, though. Just an aside. Buccaneers are going on the road to the Lions. It is minus 7.5 across the board in favor of the Lions. Something's fishy about this line. I don't like this line. It stinks. It makes me really, really want to bet the Buccaneers, but it's suspiciously good bet on the Buccaneers, it would look like. There's something. This is a rat line. This is a rat line right here, and I'm not taking it. I'm not falling for the bait. If you back me into a corner and ask me to pick the game, I'll pick the Buccaneers on the spread, pick the Lions on the money line. So Lions win, Buccaneers cover. I think they probably keep it close. I don't know. That's a suspicious line right there. I would be less suspicious if it was a -4 in favor of the Lions or something like that. 7.5 that's fishy. That's fishy. I don't trust it, and I'm not betting on it. Okay, the Jets are on the road at the Titans. They're favored by 3.5 in most places. You can get a 4. It looks like just at Caesars right now. If you're trying to bet on the Titans, the underdogs in this one, I think this has like possible rock fight written all over it. Like I think the Titans played well enough last week against the Bears, and we'll see just how much the bounce back is coming off of that game. But I don't know. The Jets are still really good. On defense, the Titans' offense is dependent on a guy that's bipolar, not actually, but bipolar in the sense of his quarterback play. This just feels like a game that's got rock fight written all over it. I think the Jets are they're gonna slowly get better throughout the season. So I'll take them here. I'll take a -3.5. I'm not gonna bet on it, but I'll take a -3.5 to cover that spread and get a win here on the road. Excuse me. Seahawks are on the road at the Patriots, and I'm just not betting on Patriots games, man. That's just that is not my bailiwick. If you wanna bet on the Patriots, go right ahead. They're a feisty team this year, man. They're a feisty team. Seahawks are on the road, -3.5 point favorites. Long road trip across country, and I'm not betting on this one. Like I said, I'm actually. Do I want to do it? Do I want to do it? Yeah, I'm taking the Patriots. I think the Patriots pull off another shocker in this one. I think they cover. I think they win this game. And I mean, the Seahawks, no shame in this one. I just think the Patriots are built to win some surprising games like this one. And I think this is going to be one where, the defensive line, kind of a work in progress for the Seahawks. Patriots, maybe lean on them a little bit more in the running game. Inconsistent pass rush for the Seahawks. Maybe the Patriots take advantage of that a little bit, or at least their offensive line doesn't get taken advantage of as much as usual. I like the Patriots in this one. I'm not taking them as far as a bet is concerned, but I like the Patriots in this one. I need to make sure I'm not missing any bets right now. Let me get over there. Yeah. We're doing good. My other bets are still to come. Right now. So, Browns at the Jaguars. We got -3 for the Jaguars across the board. I strongly consider taking the Jaguars in this one. I am scared to bet against that Cleveland defense. I just don't think I can do it. I don't think I can pull the trigger. If you want me to pick the game, I'm picking the Jaguars to win and cover just because Deshaun Watson has been so god-awful bad ever since he came over to the Browns. But I just don't trust my gut enough on that one. I think it's too much of a gut pick and not enough of a brain pick for this one. So I'm staying away from it betting-wise. But if you're asking me to pick, I'll take the Jaguars, other big jungle cats, to win and to cover at -3. 49ers are going on the road to the mean purple machine. We'll work on it. They're playing the Vikings on the road. It is they're -6.5 over at FanDuel. -6 pretty much everywhere else though. So what do we think of this game? Well, I think Sam Darnold is going to have a little bit more of a fight on his hands in this game than he did in the last one against the Giants. I think the offensive line is going to have a test on its hand for the Vikings, and I'm really interested to see how this thing works out. There's a real chance that Sam Darnold starts seeing ghosts and the Vikings score like 6 points in this game. Also a real chance that Sam Darnold has another great performance. They take advantage of some holes in the secondary, and we're playing a close game in this one. Personally, my emotions are coming into play here, which is why I'm not betting on the Vikings again, I don't think, this season. But I'll take that +6.5. I don't know if the Vikings will win. I certainly hope they do. The defense is going to have a huge challenge on their hands this upcoming week. So this will be a big litmus test for both of these teams, I would say. I'm going to take the Vikings to cover. I'm going to take the 49ers to win, though. The tall task with a team that's starting Sam Darnold at quarterback to win this game. I like them to keep it close, though. Go to someone else if you want objective analysis on that one. I'm far too deep in the fan hole to really think clearly on that. Okay, so Colts are at the Packers. We got -3s across the board for the Colts because Malik Willis will be starting this game. And honestly, I would probably take the Colts at -3. It's not going to be a bet, but I'd probably take the Colts at -3 in this one. I just trust Anthony Richardson more than I trust Malik Willis in this game. And I like Shane Steichen as a coach. I think he's going to go on the road to Green Bay and take care of business in this one. I think the Colts get the win. They get the cover. Giants at the Commanders. You want to talk about a real cripple fight. And this, I apologize for any sort of language that may offend people there, but you got to call it like it is. This is two possible top 5 picks in the upcoming draft in 2025 squaring off, and it's a divisional game, so we're going to get this again. Giants at Commanders. Mostly 1.5, so you can get a 2 if you're trying to bet on the Giants for whatever reason. Basically, what I'm saying is this right now. If you're betting on this game, just call the hotline, man. You got a problem. You've got a real problem. It takes a real sicko to bet on this game here. I'm not doing it. If you're going to back me in a quarter to pick, the Giants are so god-awful. At least the Commanders have a good young quarterback. Give me the Commanders -1.5. Not betting that. Again, if you are, seek help. Call the hotline. You have a problem. That's a telltale sign right there. But, hey, if you're telling me to pick, I'll pick the Commanders in this one. Now we got one of my other bets here. The Rams are at the Cardinals, and the Cardinals are favored by 1.5. It's either 1.5 or 1. If you're looking to bet on the Cardinals, most places are at a 1 right now, so take your pick. If you're looking to bet on the Rams, FanDuel's got a 1.5, and BetMGM's got a 1.5 with a little bit better odds, a little bit less juice on that 1.5. I'll tell you right now, though, I'm on the Rams in this one. That's an official bet. Rams plus 1.5. I don't really know why the Cardinals are favored in this game. A bit of a rat line in its own right there for this one, but it's so close. I mean, obviously, if they lose by 1 point, they win the bet. I think they win this game. I think it's going to be close for sure. I think it should be a fun game. Probably, maybe a lot of scoring in this one. Maybe I invest a little bit in the over as well. That's not going to be an official pick, though. That'll just be one of my personal picks where I just kind of go off the cuff, off the handle for the weekend. Rams plus 1.5. Might be my favorite bet of the weekend so far. I think the Rams win this game, and I think they cover. That's why it is an official pick for me. The Bengals are at the Chiefs. Chiefs are favored by 5.5 in most places. DraftKings has got a 5 if you're looking to bet on the Chiefs in this one. Another one, I still don't know what the Bengals are, so I'm staying away from it. I'm taking the Chiefs if you're making me pick. I'm taking the Chiefs minus 5.5 though. I just think they're a better football team. If I went with my gut, I'd probably bet the Chiefs, and I'd probably make an official bet. It's right on the borderline there, honestly. I just think you still don't know what you got with Joe Burrow. Maybe this is a game where he comes alive and keeps it close when he may not have expected him to. So I'm staying away from it betting-wise, but minus 5, that would be my pick if I had to make one. The Steelers are at the Broncos, and this is my second bet. It's 2.5s across the board in favor of the Steelers, and I'm taking the Steelers. This is the exact type of game that Mike Tomlin wins right here. Bad team that you're going on the road against. You need focus. You need calm in these situations. If you have a great defense against this Broncos offense, you may give up less than 10 points. I think if the Steelers offense can just score a touchdown and keep getting into field goal range, I think they pull away late in this one. And that's why I think the Steelers win this game. I think they cover, and that's an official bet at Steelers minus 2.5 in this game. Excuse me. At the Sunday night game, we got the Bears at the Texans. Texans are favored by 6 in most places. You can get 6.5 over at FanDuel if you're looking to bet on the underdog Bears in this one. Man, if the Bears offense doesn't play better than it did in week 1, this is going to be a blowout from the jump. I'm very interested to see how Caleb Williams, Shane Waldron, all the offensive weapons there with the Bears respond this upcoming week. You're going up against the Texans defense that kind of got gashed at points last week. You're playing indoors on the road. It's in a night game setting, but we'll see how Caleb Williams responds. You're going to need a real bounce-back game from Caleb Williams in week 2 to not start maybe having some creeping panic come in if you're a Bears fan. I think Caleb Williams plays well in this game. I think they cover that 6.5. I think the Texans ultimately win, but I'll take them to cover 6.5. I'm not betting that, but I'll take that line if you're making me pick. Last game of the week. Boy, who the hell thought this was going to be a good Monday night game? Falcons are at the Eagles. We got the Bird Bowl going on. Eagles are favored by 6.5 across the board. I'm not going to think about this one too hard. Eagles minus 6.5. Not betting it. Yeah, I'm not betting it. I don't like betting on spreads that large for the favorite, especially when the Falcons don't have a bad offense, and I'm not sure about the Eagles defense. I don't feel good enough about this team or this game. I don't have a great enough feel to put any money on it. So I don't think I put any money on it. Let me check. That's usually not a good sign if you have to remember what your bets are. But nope, no more NFL bets. So yeah, that's we'll take the Eagles for this game if we're picking. I just think Jalen Hurts in the offense is going to light up that Falcons defense. I think Kirk Cousins probably going to bolster the Eagles sack numbers in this one. And sorry to Bijan Robinson, man. I do apologize. You're in a tough situation with the Falcons. I wish you would have gone to the Eagles instead. I'll just say that. So yeah, I'll take the Eagles in this one. But that is it for the NFL slate in this upcoming week. May all of your bets win. Bet responsibly, bet the beer money, not the rent money. You know how it is. But I also added in to the card. Locked in Arizona and Kansas State at 58. Didn't get the 57.5. It is what it is there, but we're locking it in at 58 between Arizona and K-State. Love the over in that game. Also added Georgia minus 24 versus Kentucky. Look, guys, if they beat Clemson 31-6 or 34-6, whatever it was, they can do that same thing to Kentucky. And Kentucky may score even less than that because Clemson's a much better team than Kentucky. Yes, it is on the road versus Kentucky, but give me Georgia minus 24. I think they win, and I think they win handily. And then, of course, we have Chargers minus 6.5 at the Panthers, Steelers minus 2.5 at the Broncos, and Rams minus 1.5 at the Cards. We are on the road favorites this week, which does not bode well for the card. In fact, we bet on all the spreads we bet on were road favorites, so I may have made a mistake. We're going to find out, though. I feel great about all these bets. 5 bets on the slate this week. Let's all have ourselves a time, folks. With that, thank you so much for tuning in to Unqualified Analysis. We do this thing twice a week during the football season. College football on Tuesdays, NFL on Thursdays. That's what we're doing it right now, and we'll keep doing it that way until things change. But in the meantime, if you enjoyed, subscribe wherever you're listening to this. No matter what platform it is, subscribe, share with a friend, help me keep growing this thing, building this thing up. Slowly but surely, we'll get there if we keep trying. If you want to follow me, follow my socials at CalebVUA. If you want to communicate with me, communicate with the show, shoot me a DM on Twitter or go to the email unqualifiedanalysis@gmail.com. And I'll fit you in where I can. I'll fit you in where I can on that front. Outside of that, though, thank you so much for tuning in to Unqualified Analysis. As always, I've got next to no clue what I'm talking about. I'm kind of stupid in spite of being smart sometimes. But one thing I learned this week, Abner Doubleday is known as the man. I don't know how that really didn't click on my head. Abner Doubleday is known as the man that's invented baseball, according to legend. Reports differ on that, but according to legend, he's the guy that invented baseball. But he also was reported to be the first Union soldier to fire a shot in the Civil War at the Battle of Fort Sumter. So there you go, Abner Doubleday. I think the Fort Sumter one is a little bit more credible than the baseball one. I think both might be equally as credible, though. But hey, a noted man in history, a guy that has, done a whole lot of stuff. Invented baseball, fired the first shot for the Union in the Civil War. Hell of a life. Hell of a life. With that said, though, I'm going to go plug this laptop in before it dies. I will talk to y'all on Tuesday. Enjoy the weekend of football. I know I'm going to. And, I'll talk to you after all this thing has played out. Hopefully we get some intrigue here in week 2 of college football because the slate's looking bare right now. Looking pretty bare. But I will talk to you Tuesday. See ya.